Well, good morning, almost afternoon. I'll try not to be long-winded, I'll stand on one leg. First of all, I just want to thank my brothers and sisters of the Luchkibu clan here in this territory for allowing me to share today. There were a number of things that I wanted to do. One was I wanted to show the APTN clip that I was interviewed on when I was down in Vancouver just recently with Tracy Porteous, who was so kind to ask me to be there to be a voice at the House of Commons Standing Committee for the Status of Women. And at first I wanted to say no, but I've been taught by my grandmother and my family not to speak so quickly, but to think first. And so I allowed myself to do that. And talking to my colleagues at work at NSDP about this and saying, well, I need your encouragement because I still stand here as a First Nation woman who is so afraid to use my voice. So I just ask for prayer as I stand here. I just wanted to quickly say a little bit about myself. As it was stated that I've been in the frontline works for about 12 years. I started my schooling here at the college, which I'm so proud to say. I did drop out of high school at Estina High School because of different things that happened at home. I dropped out. Alcohol came into my life, but today I stand here 25 years, July 13th, I'll be sober for 25 years. And so I want to be able to continue to dedicate my life as a woman to give that message to other women that come across my path. I believe whoever's brought in my path, it's my duty as a First Nation woman, as a mother, as a grandmother now, I'm a nana. My husband is here with me today. I'm so proud to say. We have 4 grandchildren between him and I, and we have another on the way. She or he is coming in September. I'm saying she. We want our matriarchy to be big. But my loose clan over there would attest to that. I belong to the House of Loose, and that's L-U-U-S, not the other loose. And so I just want to read a little bit about what I shared down at the House of Commons. Some of the stuff that I've been learning in the past 5 years working at Northern Society for Domestic Peace has been a real eye-opener for me. Learning about relationship in a different light for me didn't come by coincidence. I believe, everything happens in order. And because I was in a shotgun wedding when I was 18. It lasted all 3 months. And so my life kind of went in a little bit of disarray for a time. Came to school here at the college when I was about 23. And found my sobriety and went back to school. I was in a real journey of finding who Marilyn was and is. And I continue to see how life brings things in our path. Because when I moved home to the community of Sigadoch, where I am a member of, and I need to say proudly that I'm actually from Goldoa, and I was told by my aunties just over the past few days that I need to use that more than saying that I am from, I'm Gibson, that I'm from Glenville, because Glenville is a non-First Nation name. But I'm proud to say I'm from Goldoa. And I belong to the Wolf Clan of Luchkibu. So that brought me home to live with her and support her and get her back on her feet. Today she's still with us, and I'm so glad, because I believe it's the love that surrounded her that keeps her here today. And that's where I met my husband in 2003. He came to our community. He's not from our community, but in the middle of nowhere, he brought a youth group. And the connection was through spirituality, which was a part of me that was missing. And my spirituality, I believe in my culture, but I also believe I have the Lord in my life, and that's how Darren and myself were brought together. And the centering of that brought me to Smithers, where I started working at Marilyn Society of Domestic Peace, which has taught me this whole curve of what relationship is to be in a marriage of man and wife. Because before that, I didn't think I would ever marry again, because I didn't believe in marriage. I didn't believe that there was a man out there that was worthy of being healthy and not hurt. We can go ahead and work domestic. So, like the work of the provincial organization EVA BC, my work is solely related to responding to violence against women, that is, domestic and sexual violence, child sexual abuse, and criminal harassment. I have been doing this kind of work for 14 years. According to the statistics, Canada's 2004 General Social Survey, rates of physical and sexual assault against Aboriginal women are more than 3 times higher than non-Aboriginal women. Aboriginal women report experiencing more severe and potentially life-threatening forms of physical and sexual violence. Aboriginal women are almost 7 times more likely to be murdered than non-Aboriginal women. It's like walking around with an X on our back. Aboriginal women have been studied perhaps more than almost any other group, and the time for study on this subject is past. The time for action is now. Throughout the first decade of 2000, EVA BC, working in partnership with the Pacific Association of First Nation Women and BC Women's Hospital, and held a number of meetings bringing together Aboriginal women from across the province to discuss the violence perpetrated against us and what needs to be done, which Tracy mentioned a lot of already earlier this morning. For Aboriginal women, violence frequently begins in childhood and continues throughout adolescence into adulthood. That is the same for me and most other Aboriginal women I know. Violence in Aboriginal women's lives is pervasive and is compounded by the violence of systemic and institutionalized racism, and as well as the effects of historical violence such as residential schools, the Indian Act, and other legacies of colonization. In school, I grew up feeling looked down upon and punished for who I was. I experienced people feeling sorry for me and my sister, and punishing us for being dirty little Indian girls. Violence in many Aboriginal women's lives is a daily occurrence. Far too many women have died either by murder or by their own hand. Many governments have been willing to fund studies and reports, but very few have been willing to step up and fund the long-term solutions to the problem of violence against our women and girls. How many more women have to die before any concrete long-term action is taken? We need programs designed by us and for us, and anything short of that will not do. We need the kind of big action that will support an ongoing network of anti-violence services run by Aboriginal women and for Aboriginal women all across BC, and in fact in every province and territory in Canada. the violence against women. Not all jurisdictions have enough of these services, but they exist, and they have been making a difference. As I mentioned, I myself work at these services in Smithers and Hazelton. These anti-violence services are mostly what I could call mainstream services, that is, services set up by mainstream, non-Aboriginal social services agencies, women's agencies, and governments. In looking at these services across the north of BC, I can say that while many of these programs have Aboriginal women on staff and are doing excellent work, and many reach out to the women on reserve, as I do myself, there are many women on reserve who either have no way of getting to town, who are not allowed to engage in these services because the control their abusive partners have on them, or who don't trust the mainstream services no matter how good they are. And without getting into the history of colonization, which I am sure you are all familiar with, the issue of violence against Aboriginal women on and off reserve is very complex. For many women, they want the security of confidentiality that comes with going to town for help, and therefore the existing mainstream services must have cross-cultural competency training and have Aboriginal women on staff. This could be a funding stream you put in place, which was the House of Commons. That is, for the existing and violent services, you provide funding for an Aboriginal counselor advocate position. But in addition, and most importantly, there should be anti-violence services run by Aboriginal women and for Aboriginal women in communities all across the nation. I believe it is this one-to-one support work and advocacy and the community education these programs would also do that will make a difference immediately and in the long term. The solutions that will work will only come from our women, and we need to empower them to act and to help others and to speak out. And I just wanted to share that part with you because that's what some of the sharing that we did at the House of Commons. And for me as a First Nation woman to share that and hear myself say it out loud has empowered me and has made me feel more of a part of society and a bridge, as I've always said when I started getting into this work, that I want to be that bridge between who I am in these First Nation communities and with the outside, and make all of us one like we should be. But there needs to be healing, and we need to be heard as First Nation people. And I think this room, hearing all the speakers this morning, I've heard a part of Belinda I've never heard. And I love you, Belinda. And the other speakers, Ruby, and the women in this room is very powerful, and I feel that. And I stand here today to say that we need to have our voices out there as women. And we need to stand with our partners, with our fathers, with our grandfathers, and we all need to unite and make that difference for our people.